It's true. I have no other words to say for that. I'm going to skip a lot of the grand opening and description because this is a very long story. But to skip from the very beginning all the way to right where I was at when I got this information, and what I'm about to tell you is going to rock you. It's either going to make you react or respond. It's going to cause you to either fire up and be angry with ego, or you're going to feel validated in some way because you knew this inside of yourself. Today is going to be one of those moments. And I am just the messenger. I'm nobody special. I wasn't really chosen for this. It was more of an opportunity that happened to come up. Something that I didn't expect. When I was 18, I'm 29 now, I died and I went to heaven. This isn't going to be your average near-death experience tale, or better to say story, because yes, I did see the light, I was engulfed by it, and I'm just going to tell you, long story short, after a lot of greetings by other souls, very loving souls, by God Himself, who is not just a man energy, but He's female. He's both. That's why there is a balance of both. And I found myself in the glorious presence of Jesus and other angels in heaven. And He allowed me this once in a lifetime moment, probably in many other people, where I was able to know the whole truth about the course of who we are in spirit, who we are in energy, who we are in God. And what I'm about to tell you is not a religious viewpoint, and it's not even based off my own personal beliefs. In fact, when I came to Him, when I died, it was from a beef allergy out of the blue. That's how it happened, if you wanted to know. I was very religious at that time. And I felt in a lot of ways I was self-righteous. But I also had my own inner demons of bad experiences that happened to me that I felt would cause me to be judged. And when I was in heaven, there was no judgment. There isn't. That's one of the things I'm here to tell you is, and share with you, there is no judgment in spirit. God never judged me. I never had to even say I was sorry, even though I was, for things that weren't even my fault. He never brought up the pain. Never brought up any of the mistakes that I made as a human. As being human in my human experience, to say. He just embraced me in this light of love. And this light wasn't just white, it was all colors imaginable. And I was even greeted by other souls and angels. It was spectacular. The judgment I've learned is a misinterpretation of the whole truth. The judgment is the judgment we give ourselves based on the ego, our pride, our fear, the unawareness of the whole picture. God doesn't judge you. Nope. Even if you stole a car, murdered somebody, raped someone, stole hundreds of thousands of dollars and didn't even care. Even if you had no remorse for any of it, He doesn't judge you. And that was the hardest part, because I believed that people would go to hell or a place that was justified. But they don't. And I was so angry in that moment with an angel who was talking to me, never missed a beat, never was angry. And he said, no, they don't. I said, but then what happens? Why? And the simplest answer came. He said, the only person who's judging them right now is you. And that hurt when I realized that. I said, but what about the families they hurt? What about them? He said, they forgive. And that realization that even when people have no remorse in the moment, are still forgiven, even if they don't even ask for forgiveness, they're still forgiven immediately, even before they've done it, because God knows what you're about to do. He knows everything about us. And I say He out of habit, but it's both man and woman energy. The alpha male, the alpha female. The yin and yang, if you want to, the yin and yang. The polar opposites, the balance. That's what God is. And when this realization came to me, I was in tears of mourning this idea that I was fed to believe, a friend told me. But then I was rejoiced in the realization that it was that easy. And I said, but then what happens when they want to go to heaven through entitlement? Do they go? And they told me yes and no. It's their choice. And they go through a process of healing and learning through those lessons by seeing through the eyes of the people they hurt. And he said, and it's the most powerful way of seeing what they've done. And a lot of mediums you'll see do that, talk about it. A lot of other people talk about that. But we don't really understand it when we hear it. We think we have an idea, but the gravity of how impacting and how powerful this is, it truly is indescribable of how impacting this is to each individual soul. And when they experience it even a little bit, the remorse comes through. Because then they understand, how could I do this to somebody else? And they start to see through the eyes of the people they hurt, and they start to really experience, like if they killed a child. I remember talking about that with an angel, with a spirit angel, and he said, it's the most powerful healing process ever. We don't damn them for not knowing what they did. That was Jesus' message, was forgive them for they do not know what they do. But what do we really mean by that? What does that really mean? And when I really saw this in heaven, it was mind-blowing. And even though with the ego, I thought that I understood it, I didn't feel it. I didn't understand it. The gravity of the transformational impact, the effective consciousness, the change, the realization, it wasn't there. Not till that moment. And I remember I even said, I will start to forgive them too. And I was crying, and he said, that's so nice of you. And I remember it was hard for some reason. And I said, but why does it hurt? And he said, because you're letting go of that pain of your past, and you're letting go of the identification and the false belief. You're healing. And when we heal, we cry. Crying is actually a healing process. A lot of people think it's being weak. It's not. It's healing. It's how our emotions are healing. But the most important message that's going to really rock a lot of people Jesus is not Jesus. And when I say that, I mean he's not the Son of God. We are all children of God, not just Jesus. We're all God's children. We all are, not just him. And I'll never forget the moment when I was in the presence of his holiness. And I say holiness because he's still he's a high deity. And when I say high deity, I mean he is an ascended soul closest to God, which we all have the potential of becoming when we physically die here. We all have the potential of becoming angelic. And what he described to me was that his name is actually Yeshua. I didn't know that. Honest to God, I didn't know that. And the reason why I didn't know that is, one, I was very naive. I was only 18. I was still very innocent. I was still egoic. I was still living a life that was shallow. I didn't dig too deep. I didn't want to. It scared me. And I remember he said, my name is Yeshua. It's not Jesus. And I'm here to share with you that the reason I'm telling you this is because you have the option to go back to earth when you remember this, to share people, to tell them of who they are in God, in the universe, in spirit. And I was like, what? He's asking me a favor right now? I was totally out of my woodwork. I was out of my element, obviously. And I remember vividly that he said, Melinda, what I'm going to tell you is going to shock you, but the truth is, I didn't die for people's sins. Yeah, he said that. And I know it sounds really hard to believe. But you gotta think of why he said this. And don't think right now when you're hearing these words. Give yourself the opportunity to listen with your heart, with that God element that is inside of you. Because our minds are still ego-driven. It's our heart we need to listen to, not our ego. Not what we think. We need to focus on what we feel. And he told me that, he says, I didn't die to save anybody. It was a course of, I want to say egoful, but what he actually said was, it was a negative reaction to people in that time, to what I was sharing with them, what I was trying to teach them, and the potential of who they are, who I discovered we were. And in that time, in a way, yes, it was a sacrifice, but it wasn't to save anybody. It was to enlighten people to a higher state of consciousness, to a higher element of who they are, an awareness. And he stated to me, he said, Melinda, it is not me that saves them. He said, I'm so grateful that so many people come to me so often for saving them from their sins, he went. He says, but truly, only they can save themselves from destruction. Only they can save themselves from themselves. What he was talking about, what he means, is that it is us who need to look inside of ourselves to discover our true worth, our eternal DNA that is which God is us. He described to me that we are God in human form, that we are all basically tiny little reflections of God in human form, and that we are all God-like potential. We are all God. And this don't get me wrong here, this isn't about creating power, okay? This isn't about, and I understand if you're going, what is she talking about? This is about embracing the vibrancy of your love energy and truly honing the limitless potential that it is. Think about it. You were born from this big, massive source of life, right? Why wouldn't you have the same potential if you were his offspring? If you've got God here, and here's all his little family coming down, or wherever, within the universe, why wouldn't we have that same spark of potential? It didn't make sense to me for so many years, and when he described this, it went, oh my gosh, that's true! And I understand people are going to be thinking, this is crazy, that what she's saying is just nonsense. She's just talking about magic, or maybe she didn't see Jesus, and she, well, I call him Yeshua now, and maybe, she saw some guy who says he's the devil or whatever. No! Those are all things that were fed in the mind for centuries from a book. My Bible's over there. From a book that was written thousands of times. We don't know if any of that stuff was true. Think about that. Really use your consciousness, your common sense. Is the Bible potential to enlightenment? Absolutely. I'm not bashing the Bible. I'm not bashing any religion. I think there's still incredible steps towards enlightenment. But it's not the whole truth. It's not. And there's no such thing as one truth. There's the whole truth, which is God, which is illumination, which is enlightenment, which is self-discovery of your true potential that is inside of yourself, that always was and always will be a God-like being. We are all children of God. And when I say this, you have to really think about, what does that really mean? It doesn't mean that we are children per se. It means that we are creations of another creator. We have the potential to be God-like potential. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're going to try to play God, and control people. Or control situations. Or, it's not my pride, it's not my ego. It's not like that. There's a difference with being God, or God-like, and playing God. There's a huge difference. You have to be absence of the ego to really embrace what I'm sharing with you today. Think about it too. God creates us. We were adapted from Him. We are the human expression of Creator, of Source. But He doesn't control me. He doesn't control you. He never did. He never will. So wouldn't that tell you a little bit about who you are? Really think about that. And God doesn't have a religion. There is no right or wrong about religion. They're just misinterpretations of the whole truth. The whole truth, from what I learned in my near-death experience, which was hours in conversation with Yahweh, with Jesus, Yeshua, whatever you want to call any of them. And I was only gone for a few seconds. And I'll never forget when I woke up in that hospital, before I did, and they told me, they said, you're going to forget everything because you're going to push it down into your subconscious and you're going to repress it because you're not going to believe it at first for a long time. You're going to deny it. I said, I will. Why wouldn't I? They said, no, you will. And they said, when you come back, when you go back to your family, you will try, but you will stop. Because it will be so hard for you to believe and for them to believe you. And he was right. He even predicted to me that I would have a child out of wedlock. I was 18. And I did. He said, you will not be married to the father of your child, but you will be married eventually. Not for a long time. And he was right. I haven't been married yet. And my daughter is 7 now. A lot of the things he said came true. And what they allowed me to grace, the experience, the blessing, and the curse. The curse is that a lot of people put me in this place of the Antichrist, damnation. Oh, you were talking to the devil, witch, that's a popular one. And the reason why I have my abilities to connect with people that have crossed over is something that I didn't understand it at first. I thought I understood it. But then again, the memory came back. The reason why I'm able to connect with people that have crossed over and why other people are too. And I can't really speak for everybody, but this was my experience, I suppose, but as far as that, but he showed me things that were going to happen in life. Here. I was 18, okay? I didn't understand what was going to happen. And people even may even try to say this is UFO. It's not. I can guarantee you it's not. Do they exist? Yes, but no, that's not what this is. And in fact, I think a lot of the times people think they get abducted by UFOs because they are confused, because they do come off as light beings, but it's not like that. He awakened my consciousness to a higher level of awareness. And even though when he did this and I went, oh my gosh, oh my God. And he was like, yeah, I know, right? I swear to God, I swear on my child's life, on my life, that's what happened, okay? This is stuff that really happened. And I still have a hard time really understanding why I had this experience, because I'm just me. I live in Alaska. I'm a single mom. I don't, I'm just me. And honestly, I still wonder why I even bother trying to share this story or talk about this stuff with anybody, because really, what can I do with this? I admit there's a part of me where I would love to go to all the churches in the world and share this story. Just to share it. That's it. And let you be the judge of what you think. But the fact of the matter is that we're not always going to have all the answers, even as near-death experiencers. I don't have all the answers. I don't understand. But I do understand this. That when one is given exceptional knowledge, they are given and granted an opportunity to do with it what they will. By the course of their free will. And I feel this is a test of mine. A test of endurance, maybe. Test of faith. Maybe it's just to see how I would react. I don't know. I still don't have all the answers. But I understand now where I belong as far as in God. That's what matters to me. And now I understand where everyone else is, where you are in God. Even when I look at my enemy, I see God now. That's an amazing change. I don't look at sinners. I look at powerful beings that are beyond incredible and creative and enlightened, and some that are unaware. And I can't look at any other person the same way anymore. It's truly changed me to the point where I'm not angry even at other people that I used to be angry at. And it's so much easier now for me to forgive. Does this mean that suddenly I'm perfect, that I should be labeled on this pedestal that so many people have this false idea of about people in near-death experiences or anyone who's enlightened? No, please do not put me on that pedestal. I'm asking you not to do that. Because I am still human. I still make plenty of mistakes. I still deal with my ego. The only difference is that now I have a responsibility in myself to share this information with you. That's all. I'm no better than anybody else. I wasn't chosen for this. It wasn't like God chose me. It wasn't like it was just a moment of getting the opportunity to have the answers that I always wanted, to understand, to embrace. And now I'm having the opportunity to finally, hopefully, give that to you. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, well, what do I do with this information now? What does this mean? What this means is that our purpose here is to love and to live in a way where we can help each other to learn how to love each other, how to not judge each other, how to not be products of our ego, and how to respond rather than react. How to be speakers of the whole truth that's inside of our heart, not something that was driven to us by closed-minded ideas and thoughts and beliefs. God doesn't have a religion. There is no religion in spirit. It doesn't exist to them. Their philosophy is love, mercy, forgiveness, gratitude, appreciation, joy, all those positive words you can think of. They don't look at you and think of a sinner and you need to cleanse yourself from your malicious ways. I used to be one of those people where I used to say, "You're going to hell." I used to be one of those people. Oh my God, was I one of those people. And even after my near-death experience, I was even more. And do I still understand why? Yes and no. I think the reason why is because unconsciously I knew there was something enlightening that I experienced, but I didn't know what it was. And I even shut it down and said, no, it was probably a dream. And even when my mom said, "Melinda, no, you almost just died." I said, "Nuh-uh." She said, "Yeah," and I thought my mom was overreacting. And after that, my whole life changed. I responded differently. I didn't react anymore, I responded. A lot of the times. I changed. Did I still make mistakes? Yeah. Oh yeah. I still do. Especially before I really understood this message, before I understood the whole truth about us, about why we are here. And one of the other biggest reasons why we are here is because we chose to be here. You chose to live in this life to understand the human condition, to experience life in a physical presence. And when we come back, we go to heaven, we process those emotions and the experiences, but then we learn to let those transgressions go. And we say, that was a ride. And then we move on. Are there still lots of souls in spirit that are earthbound and that tend to end up going the opposite of love? Yes. I honestly still have a hard time accepting that souls would do that, but they do. And it's a tragedy. But they do it because they have yet to embrace the love. And sometimes never will. Because they're so consumed with hatred. And I pray each and every day that the more people that watch this understands that I am not sharing this to bash church or the Bible or God or religion or anything like that. I'm just the messenger in a modern time, in a modern day, sharing with you today what I went through and what the purpose was when I came back, in hopes that sharing this with you and maybe with others will spread for humanity to remember who they are in God and to be the person to calm others down and say, enough. Forgive. Enough. Just move forward. That's the growth. And yet this is so basic. It's very basic. I know there's a lot more. But yet this alone, this message alone, I know is going to be very difficult for many. And if it's even difficult for you to even understand this, if you've even finished watching this video, whether or not you got so angry and cut it off, I don't know. I was there before, and it shook me so much. But then when I accepted it and learned and saw and felt what Yeshua was telling me, I was able to finally embrace the truth that I was always accepted in God. No matter what mistakes I made, that's the message of heaven. That is the message of Jesus, Yeshua, Yahweh, whoever you want to call him. That's the message he came for. And that's the message that I'm telling you now.